My name is Victoria, and at 56 years old, I thought I knew what unconditional love looked like. I spent decades raising my daughter alone after my husband passed, working double shifts so she could have everything she needed. When she told me she was pregnant with my first grandchild, my heart nearly burst with joy. I helped plan the baby shower, picked out gifts, imagined holding that precious baby in my arms. But at that celebration, surrounded by friends and family, my daughter stood up and made a toast that shattered everything I believed about our relationship. Before I tell you how one sentence broke my heart and changed everything between us, I would love to know where you are watching from. If you have ever felt unappreciated by someone you sacrificed everything for, please hit that like button. Subscribe because this story takes a turn nobody expected and you will want to hear how it ends. Now, let me take you back to that afternoon when everything I believed about my relationship with my daughter came crashing down. I live in Austin, Texas, in a modest three-bedroom house that my husband David and I bought 32 years ago when we were newlyweds, full of dreams. The neighborhood has changed over the years, but I have stayed put, unable to let go of the memories woven into every corner of this home. For 25 years, I worked as a registered nurse at the local hospital, tending to patients during the day and sometimes pulling night shifts when we needed extra money. 3 years ago, I finally retired thinking I had earned some peace after all those years of exhaustion. But life had other plans. David died 8 years ago from a massive stroke that took him from me without warning. He was only 52, far too young to leave us. One moment he was laughing at dinner, telling our daughter Stephanie about a project at work, and the next moment he collapsed. The doctor said it was quick, that he did not suffer, but that knowledge did nothing to ease the gaping hole he left behind. Stephanie was only 18 then, about to start college, and suddenly our family of three became a family of two. I had to become both mother and father overnight. The insurance money helped, but it was not enough to cover everything. Stephanie had been accepted to the University of Texas, and I was determined she would go. So I picked up extra shifts, worked holidays, and pushed through my own grief because my daughter needed me to be strong. I watched other nurses my age slow down, take vacations, enjoy their lives. I ate instant noodles for dinner so Stephanie could have proper meals when she came home on weekends. I wore the same scrubs until they were threadbare because every dollar needed to stretch further. Stephanie graduated 4 years later with a degree in marketing, and I was there in the audience cheering louder than anyone else. She got a good job at a tech company downtown, met a young man named Kyle at a professional networking event, and 3 years ago they got married. Kyle is 32, now works in finance, and comes from a very different world than ours. His family has money, the kind of wealth that builds comfort and opens doors. Before Stephanie met Kyle, we were close. We talked on the phone every other day. She would come over for Sunday dinners, and we would watch movies together, just the two of us. She knew how hard I had worked to give her a good life, and she never took it for granted. At least I thought she never took it for granted. She would hug me tight and say, "Thank you, Mom, for everything." Those words meant the world to me. But things started shifting after the wedding. Kyle's mother, Patricia, is 62 years old, impeccably dressed, always poised. She lives in a sprawling house on the west side of Austin, the kind with a circular driveway and professionally landscaped gardens. Patricia runs a successful real estate company, and her husband, Harold, is a retired surgeon. They have two children, Kyle and a younger daughter named Tiffany, who works as a corporate attorney. Everything about their family screams success and stability. I tried not to compare myself to Patricia. What good would it do? She had resources I could never dream of. She had time, help, and money. I had love and sacrifice, but apparently those things do not photograph as well for social media or impress at dinner parties. 6 months ago, Stephanie called me with news that made me forget every worry. "Mom, I am pregnant," she said, her voice bubbling with excitement. I screamed so loud my neighbor knocked on the wall. This was my first grandchild, a new chapter, a chance to be the grandmother I had always dreamed of being. I immediately started planning. I bought yarn to knit baby blankets, started browsing online for the perfect gifts, and began preparing the spare bedroom for when Stephanie and the baby would visit. Stephanie's pregnancy progressed beautifully. She glowed with that special radiance expectant mothers have. But I noticed something troubling. Patricia called Stephanie every single day. Not just a quick check-in, but long conversations about prenatal vitamins, nursery colors, parenting philosophies. Patricia took Stephanie to expensive prenatal yoga classes, treated her to spa days, and bought her maternity clothes from boutiques I could not afford to window shop in. At first, I told myself this was wonderful. Stephanie was being cared for, pampered even. What mother would not want that for her daughter? But slowly, I felt myself being edged out. When I suggested we go shopping for baby clothes together, Stephanie would say, "Oh, Patricia already took me last week." We got so much stuff. When I offered to help set up the nursery, she said Patricia had hired a professional designer. I swallowed my disappointment each time, reminding myself that this was not a competition. But it hurt. It hurt to feel like a supporting character in my own daughter's life. Then came the discussion about the baby shower. I had assumed we would plan it together, maybe host it at my house or rent a small venue. But Patricia called me one afternoon with a proposal that was really a done deal. "Victoria, I have been thinking," she said in her smooth, authoritative voice. "Why do not we have the baby shower at my house? I have the space, and I can handle all the arrangements. You must be so busy." I was not busy. I was retired. But I said, "That sounds lovely, Patricia," because what else could I say? Admitting that I wanted to host would make me sound petty and jealous. So I agreed, and Patricia took over completely. She hired event planners, chose a woodland creature theme with hand-painted decorations, and arranged for gourmet catering. When I offered to bake cookies or bring a dish, she politely declined. "Do not worry, Victoria. I have it all covered." I felt like a guest at my own daughter's baby shower, an afterthought in the celebration of my first grandchild. The day before the shower, I went shopping for something special to wear. I wanted to look put together to not feel so out of place among Patricia's well-heeled friends. I found a nice floral dress on sale and got my hair done at the local salon. I spent longer than usual on my makeup that morning trying to boost my confidence. I also wrapped the gift I had been working on for months, a beautiful handcrafted wooden cradle that I had saved for along with a photo album filled with pictures of Stephanie from birth to adulthood. Each page had a little note from me, memories I wanted to share with my grandchild someday. I thought it would be meaningful, a way to connect the generations. Looking back now, I should have seen the warning signs. I should have noticed how Stephanie started sounding more like Patricia, using phrases like curated nursery and intentional parenting. I should have paid attention to how our phone calls grew shorter, how she always seemed rushed when we talked, but had hours to spend with Patricia. But I was too hopeful, too eager to believe that everything was fine. I told myself that once the baby arrived, things would balance out. I would have my role, Patricia would have hers, and we would all love this child together. I had no idea that this day meant to celebrate new life would become the day I felt my own heartbreak. Saturday afternoon arrived with perfect weather, sunny and warm with a light breeze. I drove to Patricia's house, my gift carefully secured in the passenger seat, my stomach fluttering with nervous anticipation. As I pulled up to the circular driveway, I had to take a moment to absorb the transformation. The front yard looked like something from a magazine spread. Balloon arches in sage green, cream, and gold framed the entrance. A wooden sign decorated with painted foxes and rabbits announced "Baby Shower" in elegant script. I parked my 10-year-old sedan next to a row of luxury SUVs and expensive sports cars already feeling out of place. Taking a deep breath, I grabbed my gift and walked toward the house. Patricia answered the door wearing a flowing white dress that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Her hair was styled in perfect waves, her makeup flawless. "Oh, Victoria, you are here," she said, her smile polite but distant. "Come in." There was no warmth in her greeting, no excitement that we were sharing this special day. I stepped into the foyer where more decorations greeted me. Garlands of eucalyptus and white flowers draped the staircase. Soft music played from hidden speakers. Everything was stunning, professional, and completely impersonal. "Stephanie is getting ready upstairs," Patricia informed me. "Feel free to look around." I wandered through the house feeling more like a tourist than family. The backyard had been transformed into an elegant party space with round tables covered in linen tablecloths, centerpieces of fresh flowers, and a dessert table that looked like it belonged in a bakery showcase. A three-tiered cake decorated with fondant woodland animals sat as the centerpiece. There were petit four macarons, chocolate-covered strawberries, and cookies shaped like baby onesies. I placed my gift on the designated table, noticing it looked plain next to the elaborately wrapped presents already there. Some boxes were so large they had to be expensive furniture. Others came with designer labels visible on the wrapping paper. I made my way upstairs to find Stephanie. Her old bedroom, the one she stayed in when visiting, had been converted into a preparation suite for the day. Stephanie sat at a vanity while Tiffany, Kyle's sister, applied her makeup. Stephanie wore a flowing champagne-colored dress that accentuated her baby bump beautifully. "Hi, Mom," she said when she saw me in the doorway. "Is not this amazing? Patricia really outdid herself." It is beautiful, I agreed, stepping in to kiss her cheek. How are you feeling? Great, just a little tired. But Patricia got me this special pregnancy pillow, and it has helped so much. Even in her own preparation, Patricia's name came up. I tried not to let it bother me. Guests began arriving around 1 in the afternoon. The backyard filled with people, most of whom I did not recognize. There were Stephanie's coworkers, her college friends, Kyle's extended family, and what seemed like half of Patricia's social circle. From my side, only a handful of distant relatives had been invited. My best friend Linda came, thank goodness, giving me at least one ally in the crowd. Patricia held court like a practiced hostess, greeting everyone, directing them to seats, making sure drinks were refreshed. She introduced Stephanie to people as if she were presenting a prized pupil. This is Stephanie, my daughter-in-law. Is not she glowing? We are so excited for the baby. I sat at a table near the back, feeling invisible. Linda sat beside me, squeezing my hand under the table. You okay? She whispered. I am fine. I lied. The shower officially began with Patricia standing at the front, microphone in hand. Welcome, everyone, she said, her voice carrying across the yard. We are here to celebrate Stephanie and Kyle as they prepare to welcome their son into the world. This is such a joyous occasion, and I am thrilled you could all join us. People clapped. Patricia beamed. Stephanie and Kyle sat in decorated chairs at the front, looking every bit the golden couple. We have some fun games planned, Patricia continued. But first, let us eat. Help yourselves to the wonderful spread our caterers have prepared. Our caterers. Not we prepared or I made. Everything was hired out, professional, expensive. There was nothing personal about any of it yet. Everyone oohed and awed as if Patricia had performed some miracle. During the meal, I tried to engage with people at my table, but conversations felt forced. Everyone seemed to know each other through Patricia or Kyle's family. I was the odd one out, the mother of the bride, so to speak, who did not quite fit the aesthetic. After lunch, Patricia organized games. First was a baby name guessing game. She handed out cards and asked everyone to write down what they thought the baby's name would be. The correct answer, she announced, would win a prize. I wrote down suggestions, but when Patricia revealed the actual name Stephanie and Kyle had chosen, Oliver David, I felt a pang. David was my late husband's name. Stephanie had not told me she was naming the baby after her father. I found out at the same time as 50 strangers. Tears stung my eyes, but I blinked them back. I should have been happy. My husband's name would live on, but the fact that Stephanie had not shared this with me privately felt like another exclusion. Patricia won the guessing game, of course. She knew the name because Stephanie had told her weeks ago. She accepted her prize, a small potted plant, with false modesty. Oh, I just got lucky, she said, though her smile suggested otherwise. Next came gift opening. This was the part I had been waiting for, the chance for Stephanie to see the cradle and photo album I had made. But Patricia orchestrated this too, deciding the order. She handed Stephanie gifts one by one, making sure each was properly displayed for photos. Patricia's gift came first, a top-of-the-line stroller system that converted into a car seat and bassinet worth at least $2,000. Stephanie's face lit up. Oh, Patricia, this is incredible. Thank you so much. She stood up, awkward with her belly, and hugged Patricia tightly. The embrace lasted several seconds, long enough for someone to snap photos. Other gifts followed. Expensive clothes, designer diaper bags, high-tech baby monitors. With each present, Stephanie gushed appropriately, thanked the giver, and moved on. My gift came near the end. Stephanie unwrapped the cradle carefully, her expression polite. Oh, this is nice, Mom. Thank you. She opened the photo album, flipped through a few pages quickly, and set it aside. This is sweet. Sweet. That was it. The months I spent curating those photos, writing those notes, the money I saved for the cradle, all dismissed as sweet. She did not read the notes aloud. She did not share any of the memories. She just moved on to the next gift. I felt something crack inside my chest. Linda leaned over. She loved it, she whispered, trying to comfort me. She is just overwhelmed. But I knew better. Stephanie had not loved it. Not the way she loved Patricia's stroller. Not the way she had hugged Patricia. As the gift opening concluded, Patricia suggested a family photo. Stephanie, Kyle, come here, she called. Let us take a family photo. I stood up automatically, assuming I would be included. But Patricia looked at me with surprise. Oh, Victoria, could you take the photo for us? I froze. What could you take the photo? She held out her phone. Just of the immediate family. Immediate family, meaning Patricia, Harold, Kyle, Stephanie, and Tiffany, not me. I opened my mouth to protest, but what could I say? In front of 50 people, was I supposed to argue about who constituted family? So I took the phone, my hands trembling, and aimed the camera at the group. Patricia stood on one side of Stephanie, Harold on the other, with Kyle behind her, his hands on her shoulders. They smiled, perfect and coordinated. I took several shots, each one feeling like a small betrayal. Afterward, someone did suggest I get in a photo with Stephanie. Just the two of us, a quick snapshot. But the energy was different. Stephanie smiled, but it felt perfunctory. We took 3 photos, and then she was pulled away by friends who wanted to chat. I sat back down feeling like I was watching my daughter's life from behind glass. I could see everything, but I could not reach her. Linda put her arm around me. "This is not right," she said quietly. "You should be up there with her." "It is fine," I said again, though it was not fine at all. The afternoon dragged on. I smiled when I was supposed to laugh at jokes I did not find funny and pretended everything was wonderful. Inside, I felt like I was disappearing. As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting golden light across the yard, Patricia stood up again with her microphone. "Everyone, if I could have your attention," she said. Her voice carried that practiced authority of someone used to commanding a room. "I want to take a moment for something special." The chatter died down. People turned toward her curious. "I think it is time for a toast," Patricia continued, "to celebrate Stephanie, Kyle, and the new life they are about to bring into this world." Servers appeared with trays of champagne flutes. Sparkling cider was provided for Stephanie and other non-drinkers. I accepted a glass, grateful for something to hold. Patricia raised her glass. "To my wonderful daughter-in-law, Stephanie," she began. "Kyle could not have chosen a better partner. Watching you prepare for motherhood has been such a joy. You have handled everything with grace and maturity. Harold and I could not be more thrilled to welcome our first grandchild." She paused, letting those words sink in. Our first grandchild. As if he belonged to them alone. "We look forward to spoiling little Oliver, to being there for every milestone, and to supporting you both in whatever you need. To Stephanie and Kyle." Everyone raised their glasses. "To Stephanie and Kyle," they echoed. I drank the champagne, bitter on my tongue. I waited for Patricia to hand the microphone to me to give me a chance to speak as the baby's other grandmother. But instead, she said, "And now I think the mother-to-be has something to say." Stephanie stood up, accepting the microphone from Patricia. My heart lifted slightly. Maybe now Stephanie would acknowledge me, would thank me for everything. Stephanie smiled at the crowd, one hand resting on her belly. "I want to thank everyone for coming today," she began. "This means the world to Kyle and me." She looked around, making eye contact with various guests. "But I especially want to thank one person who has been there for me every step of this pregnancy." I straightened in my chair, ready to receive her gratitude. Patricia Stephanie said, her voice warm. "You have been more than a mother-in-law. You have been the mother I always needed." Time seemed to stop. The words hung in the air like a physical blow. "You have shown me what unconditional support looks like." Stephanie continued, "You have been there every single day, checking on me, making sure I have everything I need. I could not move, could not breathe. You have taught me about grace, about elegance, about how to be a strong woman." Around me, people were nodding, smiling. They thought this was touching. "Growing up, I did not have—" Stephanie paused, glancing in my direction. "I mean, things were hard. My mom did her best, but—" The implication was clear. I had not been enough. "But you, Patricia, you have shown me a different kind of motherhood. One that is calm, organized, supportive without being overbearing." Overbearing. Was that what I had been? For working myself to exhaustion to provide for her, for caring too much. Stephanie raised her glass. "So I want to toast to Patricia, to the mother I wish had raised me, to the grandmother my son is so lucky to have." The crowd erupted in applause. People stood clapping, some wiping tears. They thought this was beautiful, a touching tribute. Patricia stood, walked to Stephanie, and embraced her. "Oh, sweetheart, you are going to make me cry. I am so honored." I sat frozen, my glass still raised, halfway my heart shattering into pieces. Around me, people were cheering, celebrating this moment. A few glanced my way, their expressions uncomfortable, but no one said anything. Linda gripped my hand under the table. "Victoria," she whispered urgently. "I am so sorry." I could not respond. I felt like I was underwater, sounds muffled, vision blurred. No one asked me to speak. No one acknowledged that there was another grandmother in the room, one who had sacrificed decades for the woman, now wishing someone else had raised her. I stood up slowly, carefully, trying not to draw attention. I set my glass down on the table, my hands shaking so badly I nearly knocked it over. I needed to leave. I could not sit here another second pretending everything was fine while my insides were being ripped apart. I walked toward the house, moving through the crowd like a ghost. A few people tried to stop me to chat, but I smiled vaguely and kept moving. I made it to the bathroom in the hallway and locked the door behind me. The face in the mirror looked pale, stricken. My carefully applied makeup could not hide the devastation in my eyes. I gripped the edge of the sink, trying to steady myself. "Did I really do such a terrible job?" I whispered to my reflection. The memories came flooding back. Stephanie as a toddler running to me with scraped knees. Stephanie at 8 crying because kids at school teased her and me holding her until she stopped. Stephanie at 13 angry about something I could not even remember, slamming doors, but still coming to me when she needed comfort. Stephanie at 18 sobbing in my arms the day her father died, and me pushing down my own grief to be strong for her. I worked night shifts so she could go to summer camp. I ate cheap food so she could have new clothes for school. I missed social events, dates, opportunities for my own happiness because she came first. Always first. And she wished someone else had raised her. I splashed cold water on my face, not caring that it ruined my makeup. I could not stay here. I needed to go home to process this somewhere private. I grabbed my purse from where I had left it in the foyer and headed for the door. I almost made it out unnoticed, but Stephanie appeared in the hallway. "Mom, where are you going? I have a headache," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I need to go home." She looked concerned, but only mildly. "Oh, okay. Thanks for coming." Thanks for coming. As if I were a casual acquaintance, not her mother, not the woman who had given up everything for her. "Feel better," she added. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak further, and walked out the door. The drive home was a blur. I do not even remember the route I took. Tears streamed down my face, but I did not sob. I was beyond sobbing. This was a deeper kind of pain, the kind that numbs you from the inside out. When I pulled into my driveway, I sat in the car for a long time staring at the house. My house. The one David and I bought together. The one I had kept all these years because it held our memories. The one I had nearly lost during those hard years after David died, but held onto by sheer determination. Inside, the silence was overwhelming. I walked through rooms filled with photos of Stephanie. Her baby pictures, school photos, graduation pictures, wedding photos. Each one a moment I had treasured, a memory I had held close. I sank onto the couch, still in my dress, and finally let myself break. Sobs tore from my chest, painful and raw. I cried for the years I had sacrificed. I cried for David, who was not here to share this pain. I cried for the daughter I thought I knew, who had become someone I did not recognize. My phone buzzed. A text from Linda. "Are you okay?" "That was really unfair. Call me if you need to talk." I could not respond. What would I even say? Another text came in, this one from a cousin who had been at the shower. "I am sorry, Victoria. You did not deserve that." So other people had seen it too. It was not just my imagination. Stephanie really had humiliated me in front of everyone. I thought about calling Stephanie, demanding an explanation. But what good would it do? She had said what she said. She meant it. You do not make a toast like that in front of 50 people unless you mean it. The evening faded into night. I did not bother turning on lights. I just sat in the darkness, replaying the day over and over, trying to figure out where I had gone so wrong. I did not sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, watching shadows shift as cars passed outside. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Stephanie's words, the mother I wish had raised me. How do you come back from that? How do you unhear it? At 3 in the morning, I got up and went to Stephanie's old room. I had kept it mostly the same after she moved out, a shrine to her childhood. Her swim team trophies lined a shelf. Her favorite stuffed animals sat on the bed. Photos of her and her friends were tacked to a corkboard. I sat on her bed holding one of those stuffed animals, a worn teddy bear she had named Mr. Buttons. She had slept with this bear every night until she was 12. I remembered buying it for her at a toy store using money I should have spent on groceries. Had I been a bad mother? I tried to think objectively. Yes, I had been stressed. Yes, money was tight. Yes, I was often tired, often worried. But I had loved her with everything in me. I had shown up for every school event I could. I had helped with homework, driven her to activities, listened to her teenage dramas. Maybe that was not enough. Maybe she needed a mother who was not so worn down by life. Maybe she needed someone like Patricia, someone who never had to worry about bills or work double shifts. Someone who could be calm and organized because they had help resources time. The unfairness of it choked me. By the time the sun rose, I had not reached any conclusions. I just felt empty. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table staring out at the backyard. Stephanie used to play out there building forts and chasing butterflies. I would watch her from this exact spot while making dinner, my heart full of love for this little person who depended on me. When did I stop being enough for her? My phone rang at 8 in the morning. Stephanie's name appeared on the screen. I stared at it, debating whether to answer. Finally, on the fifth ring, I picked up. Mom. Her voice sounded strange, thick. Yes, Mom, I am so sorry. The words tumbled out in a rush. I am so sorry. She was crying. I could hear it clearly. I do not know what I was thinking yesterday. I said terrible things. I stayed silent, waiting. Can I come over? Please, I need to talk to you. My first instinct was to say no to protect myself from more pain, but she was still my daughter. Okay, I will be there in 30 minutes. I hung up and looked around my house. It felt smaller, suddenly shabbier. I wondered if Stephanie saw it that way now compared to Patricia's mansion. True to her word, Stephanie arrived half an hour later. I heard her car in the driveway, heard her footsteps on the porch. She used her key to let herself in, something she had not done in months. When she appeared in the kitchen doorway, I barely recognized her. Her face was swollen from crying, her hair messy, still in pajamas and a robe. She looked like she had not slept either. Mom, she said, and burst into tears. She crossed the room and threw her arms around me, sobbing into my shoulder. I stood stiff, unsure how to respond. Part of me wanted to comfort her like I always had. Part of me was still too hurt to move. Eventually, I patted her back awkwardly. Let us sit down. We moved to the living room. Stephanie curled up on one end of the couch. I sat on the other. I do not know how to apologize enough. She began wiping her eyes with her sleeve. What I said yesterday was cruel and unfair and not true. Then why did you say it? My voice came out harder than I intended. She flinched. I have been so stressed. Pregnancy hormones, pressure from work, Kyle's family. She took a shaky breath. Patricia has been so involved. Every day she calls, texts, asks about everything. At first it felt nice, supportive. She looked down at her hands. But then it became suffocating. She has opinions about everything. What I eat, how I dress, what we name the baby, how we decorate the nursery. I listened, beginning to understand. Yesterday, before the shower started, she pulled me aside. She said she hoped I would appreciate all she had done for me. She said not everyone has a mother-in-law who cares this much. Stephanie's voice broke. And I felt obligated, like I had to perform gratitude, like I owed her this huge debt. She looked at me, eyes red and pleading. When I gave that toast, I thought I was saying what she wanted to hear, what everyone expected. A fresh wave of tears came, but the moment the words left my mouth, I saw your face. And I realized what I had done. She reached for my hand. I pulled it away. Not yet. Stephanie, you did not just thank her. You said you wished she had raised you instead of me. I know. Her voice was barely a whisper. I know. And it was the worst thing I have ever said. She slid off the couch onto her knees in front of me. Mom, you are the mother who raised me. You sacrificed everything. You worked yourself to exhaustion. You were there for every scraped knee, every heartbreak, every triumph. Tears streamed down her face. Patricia has money. She has time, but she does not have what you gave me unconditional love through actual hardship. She gripped my hands, and this time I let her. I was cruel. I was thoughtless. And I hurt the one person who never deserved it. I felt my own tears starting. Why did you not tell me you felt suffocated by Patricia? Because I felt guilty. Stephanie sat back on her heels. She does so much. She buys expensive gifts, takes me to nice places. How could I complain about that? It made me feel ungrateful. But in trying not to seem ungrateful to her, I became actually ungrateful to you. We sat in silence for a moment. What did Patricia say after I left? I finally asked. Stephanie's face darkened. After you left, Patricia cornered me. She said my toast was beautiful, that she always knew we had a special connection. Then she said, she paused, fresh anger in her voice. She said it was good I recognized the difference between a mother who struggled and a mother who succeeded. Fury rose in my chest. She said that Stephanie nodded, and it hit me like a slap. She had been manipulating me all along, making little comments about how hard your life was, how stressed you always seemed. She made it sound like sympathy, but it was actually undermining you. I felt vindicated but also sickened. Patricia had been playing a game and Stephanie had been the pawn. I was so blind, Stephanie continued. I let her get in my head. I started seeing you through her lens instead of my own. She took my hands again. Mom, you raised me alone after Dad died. You worked nights so I could go to college. You gave up everything for me. Patricia swooped in with money and time she has because she never had to struggle. That does not make her better. It makes her luckier. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She was genuinely remorseful. This was not a performance. She understood what she had done. I forgive you, I said quietly. Stephanie let out a sob of relief and hugged me tightly. This time I hugged back. But Stephanie, I said, pulling away to look at her. This hurt me more than you know. I need you to understand that. I do. I do understand. And I am going to do better. I am going to set boundaries with Patricia. After Stephanie left that morning, promising to call me later, I sat alone with my thoughts. Her apology had been sincere. I believed she was sorry. But something still gnawed at me. Patricia. Patricia had deliberately undermined me. She had manipulated my daughter, twisted her perspective, and positioned herself as the superior mother figure. And she had done it all with a smile under the guise of generosity. I thought about letting it go. Stephanie had apologized. We were rebuilding. Maybe that was enough. But then I thought about the future. Patricia was not going to stop. She would continue to insert herself to overshadow me, to make subtle digs. She would do it to Stephanie, and eventually she would do it in front of my grandson. I could not let that happen. I needed to set boundaries, not for revenge, but for protection, for my relationship with my daughter and my future relationship with my grandchild. I picked up my phone and called Patricia. She answered on the second ring. Victoria. She said, her tone pleasant. How are you? I need to talk to you, Patricia. Can we meet for coffee tomorrow? There was a brief pause. Of course. Is everything all right? We will talk tomorrow, I said firmly. How about the daily grind at 10? That works. See you then. I hung up before she could ask more questions. The next morning, I dressed carefully. Not my best outfit, but something that made me feel confident. A simple navy dress, comfortable flats, minimal jewelry. I arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early and chose a quiet table in the corner. Patricia arrived exactly on time, wearing a tailored beige pantsuit and expensive sunglasses. She looked like she was heading to a business meeting, which, in a way, I suppose she was. She sat down across from me, ordering a green tea when the server came by. I had already gotten my black coffee. So, she said, folding her hands on the table, what did you want to discuss? I did not waste time. I want to talk about what happened at the baby shower. Oh, it was lovely, was not it? Stephanie seemed so happy. I held her gaze. Stephanie gave a toast. To you, not to me. Patricia had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable. Well, I was as surprised as anyone. She is a sweet girl, very appreciative. Patricia. I know what you have been doing. Her expression cooled. Excuse me. You have been undermining me to my daughter, making subtle comments about how hard my life was, how different things could have been. I am just being honest, Victoria. Your life has been hard. No, I said firmly. You have been trying to replace me. Patricia's mask slipped for just a second. A flash of something cold crossed her face before she smiled. Victoria, let us be honest, you and I are very different. I can offer Stephanie things you cannot. Stability, resources, a certain standard of living. The insult was clear, but I refused to flinch. You are right. We are different. You have money. I had love. You had time. I had sacrifice. You can buy her things. I gave her everything. Is that supposed to make me feel guilty? No, I said calmly. It is supposed to remind you that you are the grandmother. I am the mother. And no amount of money or manipulation will change that. Patricia leaned back, studying me. Stephanie clearly disagrees. Actually, I said she does not. Stephanie came to my house yesterday morning. She apologized. She told me she made a terrible mistake. Patricia's composure cracked slightly. She did. Yes. And she told me what you said to her after I left, about the difference between a mother who struggled and a mother who succeeded. Patricia's face tightened. I leaned forward. I am here to set boundaries, Patricia. You can be involved in my grandson's life. You can spoil him, take him places, all of that. But you will not try to replace me. You will not manipulate my daughter. And you will respect me as her mother. Or what Patricia's tone was icy. Or I will make sure Stephanie knows exactly what you have been doing. I will make sure Kyle knows how his mother has been creating division in his marriage. I will not start a war, Patricia, but I will not be erased either. Patricia stared at me, her jaw tight. After a long moment, she said, fine, good. I stood up. I do not want us to be enemies, but we need to be clear about where we stand. I walked out of the coffee shop feeling lighter than I had in days. I had stood up for myself. I had protected my place in my daughter's life. Over the following weeks, things slowly shifted. Stephanie started calling me more often. She set boundaries with Patricia, politely declining some invitations, making it clear that she needed space. Patricia, to her credit, backed off somewhat. She was still involved, but less overbearing. Stephanie and I had lunch together, just the two of us, and talked honestly about everything. About her fears of motherhood, about the pressure she felt from Kyle's family, about how much she appreciated everything I had done for her. I am sorry I took you for granted, she said one afternoon. I got caught up in Patricia's world and forgot what really matters. I squeezed her hand across the table. What matters is that we are talking now, that we are honest with each other. 3 months later, on a warm September evening, I got the call I had been waiting for. Mom Stephanie said, her voice strained. It is time. I will be right there. I drove to the hospital, my heart pounding with excitement and nerves. Kyle met me in the waiting room. She is doing great, he said. You can go in. I walked into the delivery room where Stephanie lay in bed, hooked up to monitors. She looked exhausted but determined. Mom, she said, reaching for my hand. I am here, baby. I am here. I stayed by her side through the long hours of labor. I held her hand when contractions hit. I wiped her forehead with a cool cloth. I whispered encouragement when she wanted to give up. Patricia and Harold arrived a few hours later. Patricia looked surprised to see me there but said nothing. We maintained a polite distance, both of us focused on Stephanie. At 11:43 that night, Oliver David came into the world. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, with a full head of dark hair and lungs that announced his arrival loudly. The nurse placed him in Stephanie's arms, and I watched my daughter become a mother. Tears streamed down my face as I looked at this tiny, perfect human. Do you want to hold him, Mom? Stephanie asked. I nodded, unable to speak. She placed Oliver in my arms, and I felt my heart expand in a way I had not thought possible. He was so small, so fragile, so beautiful. Hi, Oliver, I whispered. I am your Grandma Victoria. His eyes opened briefly, dark and unfocused, and I swear he looked right at me. Patricia held him next, cooing over him appropriately. We took turns passing him between family members, everyone marveling at this new life. Later, when the room had cleared and it was just Stephanie, Kyle, the baby, and me, Stephanie said, Mom, thank you for everything. For what? For being here. For always being here, even when I did not appreciate it. I kissed her forehead. You are my daughter. I would do it all again. She smiled tiredly. I named him Oliver David. David, after Dad. I wanted you to know that before the shower, but I wanted it to be a surprise for everyone else. I know, honey. You told me later. It means everything. Kyle spoke up from his position by the window. Victoria, I want to apologize too. My mother can be a lot. I should have noticed what was happening. I appreciate that, Kyle. We are all learning. Over the next few months, I settled into my role as grandmother. I babysat when Stephanie needed a break. I rocked Oliver when he was fussy. I sang him the same lullabies I had sung to Stephanie. Patricia remained involved too, but we had found a balance. We were not friends, but we were civil. We both loved Oliver, and that was enough common ground to maintain peace. One afternoon while I was watching Oliver, Stephanie sat with me in the living room. "This is his first time in this house," she said, looking around. "This is where you grew up," I reminded her. "I know." She picked up a photo from the mantel, one of her as a toddler with David. "I have been thinking a lot about what I said at the shower." "Stephanie, we have moved past that." "I know, but I need to say this." She set the photo down. "Growing up here, I did not realize how much you sacrificed. I saw the small house, the tight budget, the stress. I did not see the love behind it all." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Patricia's house is bigger. Her life is easier. But this house has something hers never will. It has memories. It has love. It has you." I hugged her tightly. "That is all I ever wanted to give you." Now, 6 months after that devastating baby shower, I sit in my living room with Oliver asleep in my arms. He is growing so fast, changing every day. He has my daughter's nose and my late husband's eyes. Stephanie comes over twice a week now. Sometimes we just sit together drinking tea, watching Oliver play. Other times we talk about everything and nothing, rebuilding the closeness we once had. That day at the baby shower nearly broke me. Hearing my daughter say she wished someone else had raised her cut deeper than any wound I had ever felt. But it also became a turning point. It forced conversations we needed to have. It made Stephanie examine what she truly valued. It gave me the courage to stand up for myself. I learned that silence is not always strength. Sometimes you have to speak up, set boundaries, demand the respect you deserve, not out of arrogance, but out of self-worth. Stephanie learned that words have power, that they can wound deeply, and that real love is built on sacrifice, not convenience. She learned to see past the surface, past the money, and the mansions to the heart of what matters. Patricia learned that she could not buy her way into being the most important person in Stephanie's life, that genuine relationships are not built on gifts and grand gestures, but on years of showing up even when it is hard. We are healing now, all of us in our own ways. The wound from that toast has not completely disappeared. I do not think it ever will, but it is scarring over, becoming part of our story rather than the end of it. Oliver will grow up knowing both his grandmothers. He will spend time in Patricia's big house with her expensive toys. He will also spend time in my modest home surrounded by photos and memories and unconditional love. Both experiences will shape him, and that is okay. I am not in competition with Patricia anymore. I do not need to be. I know who I am. I am the woman who raised Stephanie alone after my husband died. I am the woman who worked double shifts and ate cheap meals so my daughter could have opportunities. I am the woman who showed up day after day, year after year, even when it was exhausting and thankless. And I am Oliver's grandmother, the one who will tell him stories about his grandfather David, the one who will pass down family recipes and teach him the lullabies I sang to his mother. That is enough. I am enough. So, let me ask you, have you ever felt taken for granted by someone you sacrificed everything for? Have you had to stand up for yourself even when it was uncomfortable? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more true stories about family relationships and finding strength in difficult moments. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their sacrifices matter, even when they are not acknowledged. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you are worthy of respect and appreciation, and that it is never too late to stand up for yourself. Wishing you strength, healing, and the courage to protect the relationships that matter most.